What does this team look like now? They won a playoff series against the Rockets, as you know, this past spring. Primary starting lineup is LeBron James, Marcus Smart, Rui Hachimura, Luke Kennard, and DeAndre Ayton. This is obviously before Reeves returned. So all of those players, they're all now gone. They were all in the top 5 on the Lakers in total minutes last postseason, which makes the Lakers the first team to have none of their top 5 players in minutes played from the previous postseason return to the team for the following year. That's since minutes were first tracked in the early 1950s, which means so many new faces coming to Los Angeles. Walker Kessler, Quentin Grimes, Sandro Mamukelashvili. How do we say that, Dave? Mamukelashvili. We all have to practice that. What are we going to call him, Dave? Mamu. And their first-round draft pick from this year's draft, Cameron Carr. Really a sea change. And I'm wondering, Dave, how the linchpin of this whole thing, how Luka feels about all his new teammates.
Yeah, I checked in with someone close to Luka who told me in a word he's excited about the moves that they made. Now recognizes that there's a lot of work ahead of them, but feels like this is going to give the requisite kind of wind behind his own sails to march towards the championship. He needs to step into a further leadership role with this team. Obviously, he was already occupying it, leading the league in scoring last year, had the unfortunate hamstring injury, was not able to see that group through. But his fingerprints are all over this roster. I'm not saying that Luka told Rob Pelinka specifically every one of these names, but certainly there's an endorsement of Quentin Grimes, a former teammate of his in Dallas. Walker Kessler, get me an A-list center. Here's your A-list center, 7'2", one of the best rim protectors and a guy who can roll towards the rim and play offense with Luka. He wanted to play with Austin Reeves. He's back, and Mamu, I think, is a guy that they kind of discovered in Toronto that can give them more. Now, one guy I want to mention, though, is Kevon Looney, and that was another backup that they added that, you know, they needed a backup center, right? He had some opportunities around the league. I spoke to someone close to him today who said that he saw it as a clear opportunity. He saw a parallel between some of the half-court sets that they're going to run, the way he can free up Luka and AR the same way he freed up Clay and Steph with screens, multi-time champion. And then let's talk off the court. He's a UCLA guy. He spends his offseason to LA.
Right.
He's getting married this weekend.
Oh, congrats.
To his bride, who's also a hooper at Cal State Northridge.
Oh, wow. So
it's a happy time for the Looney family.
Okay, that's great.
You know, I've spent some time around Kevon. He's a good guy to have among this group as a veteran leader as well.
Shannon, what about the defense?
Well, I
mean, if you're looking at your two pillars of your team,
look, defense is a conversation for another day, because I think that that's going to be a collective group effort on behalf of the Los Angeles Lakers. I want to go back, though, to the post players, because the one prerequisite for Luka Doncic's success, outside of what he does by himself, 30 points per game, is the need for a great center and having lobs. And this is the potential here, because Luka Doncic on lobs assists the most in the NBA, first in that category. And Walker Kessler actually was fifth in field goals made via lob. So he is a lob threat. But again, Hannah, I will give a nod to defense, because defensively, he actually over his career averages 2.5 blocks per game, which is solid. And then offensively, he shoots 68% in his career. So when we think about those Dallas days where Luka was sensational, taking them to NBA Finals, being in the MVP conversation, it all hinged upon the centerpiece literally being a lob threat. Now, they have some ways to go, because Dallas had a battalion of them, and they did work on both ends of the floor. But at least Luka can be a little bit happier that he did get a center, a top-tier center, potentially with good chemistry that he co-signed.
And you know Luka, the way he has that downshift in gear and be able to work the half-court offense, and if he can get the help defender just take one step towards him, that leaves a 7'2" guy by the rim.
True.
He can obviously thread the needle with
Are they done making moves?
There's one empty roster spot remaining, and sometimes a team will have 14 guys on their roster, and it's like, we're going to keep that spot open to give us some optionality towards the trade deadline. We could do for 2-for-1 deal, or we could pick up someone from the trade, the buyout market. That's not the case for the Lakers. They view this final spot as a very important piece to their potential puzzle. One guy they're speaking to, Anthony Slater, been all over it, our Anthony Slater, Jonathan Kuminga. And right now he's without a team. Now, Atlanta, turned down their team option, $24 million for him this year. The Lakers currently don't have anywhere close to that to offer them. They would have to do some maneuvering, perhaps doing another trade, use those 2 second-round picks that they got from Washington in the Ayton deal to maybe attach someone like a Dalton Connector or Jared Vanderbilt to a trade to free up some cap space to give him a better offer than the veteran minimum. But certainly they're trying to pitch opportunity. You will come here, you'll play on the biggest stage in basketball, and you may have to take a pay cut for a year or two, but you can get back into the big dollars. Malik Monk did that years ago for the Lakers. He's made close to $100 million in NBA contracts with the Sacramento Kings since.
Wendy, how do you like this team as it's currently constituted in light of the rest of the West?
The two things they had to do going into the offseason, Hannah, they had to keep Austin Reeves. They did that. They had to get a starting frontline center that matched with Luka Doncic. They did that. Both were expensive, but they got those done. Those were the big strokes. You really also need Luka Doncic to be healthy and in good condition. If those three things are all in place, I think the Lakers are going to be a formidable team next year. That said, I do think that they're going to have defensive issues. I don't think that they got better defensively on the perimeter. And listen, Kuminga could be a really good fit for them. We've seen things go both ways. We've seen Malik Monk come in, as Dave said, and really thrive and end up rebounding his career. We saw DeAndre Ayton come in, who had been abandoned by several teams coming in, and that was not a good fit. So, it could go either way there. But when you're the Los Angeles Lakers, you get people to give you opportunities like that. So, getting another key player, potentially a starter, would definitely help.
I'm going to practice Mamu Kelly.
Boston Celtics with the huge upset. They advance to the conference finals. And LeBron James' season is over. Is his career in Cleveland over? And Cleveland fans wondering if that's the last time he'll take off a Cavalier jersey.
Not in the history of the NBA, not even in the history of American sports, has a free agent athlete generated this level of interest. A palpable buzz that has grabbed front and back page headlines everywhere. Rare for one athlete to hold his sports balance and power in his hands. Let's now send it to Jim Gray in Greenwich, Connecticut with the King.
The answer to the question everybody wants to know. LeBron, what's your decision?
Very tough. And this one, I'm going to take my time to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
Top 4, top 5, top 6, top 7.
Wow, 16 years ago today, LeBron went on ESPN with the decision and orchestrated event at the Boys and Girls Club in Greenwich, Connecticut, announcing that he would be taking his talents to South Beach, where, of course, he would eventually win his first 2 titles. And according to the Nielsen rating, an average of 9.9 million people in the United States watched the decision, with the peak being at 13 million, a monster rating. Brian, it was one of those, where were you when that happened moments. What do you remember about that day?
Well, first off, shout out to Stuart Scott. Whenever we see him on the airways, it's always great to see and hear from him. The thing about the decision is there are 2 things about the legacy 16 years on. One of them is obvious all the time, and one of them is totally forgotten. The legacy is that it really showed athletes the way to empower controlling their messages about their career. And now we see athletes across the landscape, you take the opportunity via social media or other platforms to announce their decisions, to take ownership of it. It's commonplace now for college athletes. Basically, this became ubiquitous. The second thing, though, that I think is totally lost to history, I think it was lost that night, Hannah, was that this event raised over $2 million for Boys and Girls Clubs. And the $2 million went to the 6 cities that LeBron was considering in free agency. Yes, Miami, yes, Cleveland, but also to Los Angeles, also to Chicago, also right there to Greenwich. And these clubs got new roofs and new computers and court refurbishments that are still in use today. And if they had started the decision with showing the check that LeBron was generating, I think it would have had a different legacy. Nobody remembers that, but trust me, a lot of folks, a lot of kids at Boys and Girls Clubs who've grown into adults now benefited from that. It just doesn't get thought of that way.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Obviously, one of those places is my hometown, and I've seen firsthand the impact to the Boys and Girls Club. Meanwhile,